Welcome to Before the Kickoff, the Daily Island's weekly pregame show and your number one source for Hawkeye football. I'm Colin Carithers.
And I'm Elise Gann. We're going to break down everything you need to know before the kickoff.
Well, Elise, I've got to say, at least for myself, I'm still riding that high from last weekend's game.
Absolutely, Colin. It was a huge win over Rutgers for the Hawkeyes. And I will say, it was a closer game than I would have liked it to be, and it was way higher scoring than I thought it would be. But hey, a win is a win.
A win is a win. That was a wild matchup, but hey, it's all the better, especially when I get the belt. But let's take a look back at that matchup against Rutgers on the East Coast. Kirk Ferentz led his Hawkeye squad into SHI Stadium to face the Rutgers Scarlet Knights. It was about as wild as last Friday night, the song from Katy Perry. They had all the fireworks, the drone show, and they had a wave there after the first quarter, which was really cool to see. But it started off on the field crazy as well. Caden Weechen taking the opening kickoff from the end zone all the way back for a touchdown there. Rutgers would immediately respond. Not even 3 minutes into this game. Tied up 7 apiece. Kamari Moulton, he's the running back here, finding the end zone. It's his first touchdown of the year and his first game back after being injured early in the game against Albany. Rutgers would punch in a few as well. Everything was tied up at 21 apiece going into halftime, but Mark Ganowski, using the legs, would find the end zone 3 times there. Huge number as well, but Rutgers kicker, Chicago Bears fans look away. The doink there from him. It was his first miss in 19 attempts there. So a very unlikely scenario from him. Drew Stevens, unlikely as well from what he's used to, would miss one and return the favor. He would make it up with a made field goal a little bit later. But Rutgers, down by a few scores, finds the end zone, trying to find any momentum back into this ball game. And they'd fire off that cannon after every single score. But then the Iowa defense hit there, and it's the interception. It's their first turnover the entire year. Mark Ganowski punches in another, and Iowa takes a 10-point lead. They win 38-28 on the road. Mark Ganowski becomes the winningest quarterback in all collegiate football. Well, what a great night to open up Big Ten play for Iowa. I mean, the atmosphere there was really cool. They had the blackout. Everyone in the stands, including the student sections, wearing black. They were pouring in everything to the atmosphere. Just wasn't too much for the Hawkeyes, though.
No, not too much for the Hawks at all, Colin. It was a fantastic way to open up Big Ten play, but now comes challenge number 2 for Iowa with the 11th ranked Indiana team coming into town. So we'll check in with Nick Isles in the newsroom to give us the latest updates on this Iowa roster and how they prepare to compete.
Colin and Elise, lots of moving pieces in the Hawkeye running back room right now as even more injury updates emerge this year. Iowa has started a different running back in each of its first 4 games this season. Kamari Moulton returned to the field last week after missing games 2 and 3 due to injury. The redshirt sophomore not only tallied the most Hawkeye carries in their rushing attack, but had his first score of the year against Rutgers. A fairly solid return for Moulton, and Mark Ganowski was very glad to have him available once again.
It was awesome. It was awesome to have him back. He continues to do great things on the field in practice, and he's a leader for us on the offensive side. So to have him in the offense and being able to have a guy that I can trust.
But like I said, it's been a never-ending cycle of injuries for the Hawkeye backfield. Jazz Patterson going down last week in East Rutherford. Patterson carried the ball 6 times for 37 yards before exiting the game against the Scarlet Knights. And unfortunately for the Hawks, their leading rusher will not be available this week in Iowa's biggest test of the season so far, 11th ranked Indiana. However, if you look at it this way, Iowa has a tremendous amount of versatility in their backfield. You talk about Moulton, Terrell Washington Jr., and Nathan McNeil. There is a combination of speed and strength presenting an opportunity to test the Hoosier defense. Guys, Iowa ranks 40th in the country in rushing yards per game, but if you look way down on another list, they place 127th in passing. Listen, this is a Hawkeye program that needs to find their identity quickly on offense this weekend. Every Iowa running back has seen the field thus far this season, and if they could pound the ball through the Hoosier defense, I expect this to be a much closer game. Guys, back to you.
Thank you, Nick, for those updates, but I'm real curious about how this Hawkeye roster will hold up against an Indiana team with such a loaded roster. And, well, Colin, we're all aware of the elephant in the room. Indiana is coming off a stomping 63-10 win at home over the Illini. And with this game being on Saturday and Iowa having played on Friday, it gave the entire Hawkeye staff and players a chance to watch this game live. Here's Mark Gronowski's immediate thoughts from watching the game in real time.
I was kind of surprised to see how how big of a margin of victory it was, how fast they got on that other team. So again, on Saturday, we got to be able to start fast.
And a big reason as to why they were able to create that margin of victory is because of their quarterback, Fernando Mendoza, who holds some of the best odds at this point of the season to win the Heisman Trophy. Mendoza is a transfer from Cal and a potential first-round draft pick, which is obvious when you look at his numbers. He shined through the Hoosiers' undefeated start with 975 yards and 14 touchdowns as well, looking impeccable with the air raid with 0 interceptions and throwing 76 completions out of 99 attempts. Out of those stats, 5 of those touchdowns and 267 of those yards are just from beating Illinois, and it led to him leading the nation in passing touchdowns. Iowa head coach Kirk Ferentz had high praise for the star.
The quarterback might be the best quarterback in the country. Unless somebody was saying he's a leader for the Heisman, I don't have a Heisman vote, but I'd vote for him based on what I saw. He gets the ball out extremely quick. It's going to be tough to even get a hand on him.
But it's not just him, it's his entire roster that second-year head coach Curt Cignetti has done a wonderful job with. And a big reason as to why they're currently ranked 11th in the country, as you said earlier, Elise. And I mean, it sounds like Kirk Ferentz and the team has a pretty good understanding as to how prominent of an opponent this Indiana team is.
It's hard to find a weakness. It really is. And, yeah, I'm not saying it's like playing Ohio State, but there's some similarities in my mind.
Well, let's highlight a few of these players and make Indiana a standout from the rest of the country. And let's start with slot receiver Omar Cooper Jr. He has 377 yards and 5 touchdowns on 19 receptions, including a 207-yard and 4-touchdown performance against Indiana State.
Well, Colin, he's not the only guy Fernando Mendoza will be able to go to. They also have Mendoza's breadbasket because he is catching everything. Senior wide receiver Elijah Surratt. He followed Curt Cignetti from James Madison and is now lighting it up with 256 yards and 5 touchdowns as well. This is an offense that averages 54.8 points per game this year, which means Iowa needs a real tight game plan to shut things down.
I think the biggest strength about them is that they're very balanced. They can throw the ball, they can run the ball, they can throw it deep, throw it short. So I think we got to just focus on stopping the run first, making them one-dimensional.
But things don't ease up with talent defensively for this team, however. They're also just allowing 8.3 points per game against them, and they've got a spy-like defense to confuse opposing offenses.
I think it's just their ability to disguise different coverages off the bat. And I mean, they got an awesome defensive line. They got a lot of sacks last week. Be able to decipher what defense they're in after the snap's made is going to be a big thing on Saturday for me.
A major factor to this is their lockdown secondary that has allowed for only 58% of attempted passes to be completed against them, which is the 11th best in the country. This effort is led by D'Angelo Pons, who was a second-team All-American last season. He compiled 11 tackles, 3 tackles for loss, and an interception to his name, as well as only giving space for 3.6 yards per target so far.
Well, the pass defense is obviously stellar, Elise, but it's also the run defense, and more specifically, the defensive line in general that averages 11.5 pressures per game, and they add the second most sacks in the country to the resume as well, with 15 of them. Mikhail Kamara is maybe the scariest man to face on this Hoosier D-line. He has 6 tackles and 1 sack and is accredited for 10 QB pressures. And thanks to my guy at Ben Holler at Indiana, shout out to him, I learned that he gets double teamed pretty much all the time, so teams are aware of how difficult it is to go against him.
This will be a completely different challenge for the Indiana defensive line. However, every starter on Iowa's O-line besides Jennings Dunker has the best Pro Football Focus rating for their respective positions, and Dunkers is just second for his position at right tackle. It's allowed for big runs from the Iowa running back and even Mark Gronowski, who is tied for the 3rd most rushing touchdowns in the conference. I believe that this game can very well be decided based off how much the Hoosier defensive line is able to pressure Mark Gronowski, and Logan Jones spoke on the importance of the matchup in the trenches.
I think anytime you win a game, it starts up front, and we're going to do our best up front and do our job, and hopefully we can make an advantage. But they present some difficult things to block up front.
It's their first road game of the year, and Kinnick Stadium will be rocking. It's Iowa's homecoming game, and of course, Kinnick is labeled as the place top 5 teams go to die. I know Indiana isn't top 5 necessarily, but it's the same idea here.
It's also going to be an opportunity to change a recent Hawkeye football narrative. Currently, the team is 0-10 against ranked opponents. Their last win, Iowa was ranked 3rd and beat a 4th-ranked Penn State team in Kinnick in 2021. A couple of players spoke on turning that around on Saturday in front of the home fans.
Yeah, it's a great opportunity. Having arguably the hottest team in the country coming into our home field, I mean, there's not much more you can ask for. So we know the fans are going to be ready. Like I said, it's just our job to do the same.
You have a ranked team coming into Kinnick. That's not going to be an easy game for them, just because it's a tough environment. So to be able to play in that, it's a lot of fun.
Well, Saturday will certainly be a rowdy day at Kinnick Stadium.
Oh yeah, Colin. Not only will it be great for the crowd to cheer on the Hawks, but this week's kid captain as well. Ryan Paris has a story on Jackson Engstrom.
When Jackson Engstrom was in preschool, he was misdiagnosed with retinitis pigmentosa, a degenerative eye disease causing his vision to decline. But after suffering a seizure while waiting for the school bus, Jackson was officially diagnosed with Batten's disease.
I explain to people that it's kind of like Alzheimer's in a child.
Batten's disease is rare and fatal, affecting roughly 1 in 100,000 people. Those diagnosed in childhood can be expected to live into their mid-20s. In the following years, Jackson gradually lost his ability to walk, swallow, and communicate in full sentences.
You have to go down that road. And it's always, oh, is there a cure? No, what's the end result? Well, we're going to lose him.
Going into his senior year of high school, Jackson received a surprise from his friend and Hawkeye football commit Carson Nielsen. The Nielsen family said they wanted to sign Jackson up to be a kid captain, but first needed his approval.
And I was like, I've thought about it, but I don't want to take away from another kid who can see it and understand it. And she said, well, he can hear it, he can feel it, and he's a senior this year, and his story deserves to be told.
Thanks to the Nielsen's recommendation, Jackson will lead the Hawkeyes out for their homecoming game this weekend against Indiana, representing everyone fighting Batten's disease.
And so being outside, he will now feel it and hear it for the first time.
From the University of Iowa, Ryan Paris, DITV Sports.
Well, Colin, another week, another beautiful story.
I couldn't agree more. Always thankful to hear those stories. Obviously really impactful with that one, but also thankful to build some context for this upcoming game.
And, well, to do that, we need to learn the history between these two programs and Iowa's homecoming games. And for that, let's get ready for class with Cole Krieger.
Guys, after a month hiatus, Professor Krieger is back in the classroom to give you this week's history lesson. As Iowa takes on Indiana this week, let's walk down memory lane to explore the history between these two programs. The first meeting between the Hawkeyes and the Hoosiers came all the way back in 1912, with Iowa winning 13-6. Iowa hasn't played Indiana since September 4th, 2021, with the Hawkeyes winning dominant fashion 34-6. Matter of fact, Iowa has dominated in the history of this matchup, holding a record of 46, 28, and 4. And as you all know, it's homecoming here in Iowa City. And matter of fact, these two schools have gone dancing on homecoming quite a few times. The Hawkeyes are 63, 44, and 5 all-time on homecoming, and they've taken Indiana as their homecoming date 16 times for a record of 10, 5, and 1. Last time these two kids slow danced was in 2014, where Iowa won 45-29. In their most recent victory over the Hoosiers, the Iowa defense intercepted former Indiana and current Atlanta Falcons quarterback Michael Penix Jr. 3 times on the receiving end of 2 of those interceptions was former Iowa and current Denver Broncos starting cornerback Riley Moss, who took both of those back for touchdowns. Iowa has won 8 out of the last 9 meetings versus Indiana, with the Hoosiers' last one coming back in November of 2012. But enough about the Hawks. Let's transition over to Bloomington, Indiana, and break down what they've accomplished over the past 2 seasons, because their program is at an all-time high. The Hawks are led by Coach Kurt Cinetti, who was the head coach of James Madison from 2019 to 2023 before taking the job at Indiana. Since taking over, the Hoosiers are 15-2 since the start of last season. In 2024, they made the college football playoffs, and this year they're currently ranked 11th in the AP poll. 11th is the team's highest ranking since 1969. It also marks the first time in program history the Hoosiers have been ranked in the top 12 in back-to-back seasons. Well, guys, I'm so glad to be back in the classroom, but unfortunately, that's all for today's lesson. Colin, Elise, back to you.
Well, I don't know about you, Elise, but I feel like I'd be ready to take a quiz thanks to Cole on Saturday.
I would too, and honestly, Colin, I would probably score just a little better than you, probably a lot better, but that's aside. Let's learn about what else is happening in the conference and go around the Big Ten with Ryan Paris.
Conference play is in full swing now, which means some epic clashes between Big Ten foes are on the horizon.
Beyond the Iowa-Indiana game this weekend, there are 3 other games involving Big Ten teams ranked in the AP poll. First, kicking off at 11 a.m., the USC Trojans travel to Champaign to face the beleaguered Illinois Fighting Illini. After losing to Indiana 63-10 last weekend, Illinois dropped from 9th in the poll all the way down to 23rd. Indiana QB Fernando Mendoza lit up the Illini after 5 touchdown passes with only 2 incompletions. Meanwhile, the Illini offense, which had run for 120 yards or more in all 3 games coming in, was held to just 2 on the day. As for USC, they've already played 2 Big Ten games this season, handing Michigan State and Purdue losses in the process. The Iowa game will be kicking off right around the same time that one will wrap up, but for some alternate afternoon viewing, tune your TV to Ohio State versus Washington. For being the #1 team in the nation, Ohio State is only favored by 9.5 against the Huskies, who hold home field advantage. And last weekend, Ohio State was on a bye week, while Washington's DeMond Williams Jr. dazzled in the Apple Cup against rival Washington State. The Huskies signal caller threw for 298 yards and 4 touchdowns, giving him the exact same stat line as another Williams, Caleb Williams, put up on the Cowboys last Sunday. Have to shout out my Bears in there. DeMond also added 88 rushing yards and a touchdown in the ground in the 59-24 win. And as for Saturday night, we're spoiled for choice between Bama, Georgia, and the game I'll dive deeper into in this segment, Oregon at Penn State. It's the annual whiteout game for Penn State and the highest-ranked matchup of the season so far outside of Ohio State, Texas in Week 1. The thinking is that only one of these teams will be in the Big Ten championship game come December, so this game in September could be the deciding factor. Although Penn State boasts a lot of success in their annual whiteout games, especially recently, head coach James Franklin has yet to prove he can beat elite competition. A lot of teams have played cupcake schedules at this point in the season, but Penn State's might be the most of them all. But unlike their schedule, their rushing attack is no joke. If Oregon can find a way to slow down Nick Singleton and Katron Allen, they should have a good chance.
Well, thank you, Ryan. And now we're back here with
Say it.
just whatever this monstrosity is. It should be mine.
You talked about, so it's a monstrosity, but you want a monstrosity? Come on, you know it's beautiful. You know it's amazing, and you guys are right. It feels pretty good on the shoulder here, so I'm assuming you'd like it back.
I would.
Well, I like it right here. So let's see if I'm able to keep it or if anyone else is able to take it away with this week's predictions. So let's go around here, everyone's predictions for this upcoming game between Indiana and Iowa.
When there's homecoming in the land of the black and gold, there is no other place to be than Iowa City. The stage is set, and this game has all the ingredients to be a classic, a ranked Big Ten opponent in the depths of a sold-out swarm of Hawkeye fans in Kinnick Stadium. Confidence, offensive prowess, and hunger. This is everything that makes up the new era of Indiana Hoosier football. In Kurt Cignetti's first year as head coach, the boys from Bloomington went undefeated at home, but 3-2 on the road a season ago. Iowa is their first test away from Memorial Stadium, so what better time for the Hawks to catch Indiana off guard. Despite Iowa's support from the 12th man at home, Indiana has all the swagger coming into this game. Give me the Hoosiers to spoil Herky's homecoming.
Nick, I'm guessing that most of us are picking against the Hawkeyes, and reasonably I understand why. Indiana just blew the brakes off number 9 Illinois, 63-10. Fernando Mendoza's coming off a game where he completed over 90% of his passes and threw 5 touchdowns. Indiana hosted their first top 20 ranked matchup since 1993 and won in blowout fashion. And now they turn their attention to who? The 3-1 Iowa Hawkeyes. Indiana should easily escape Kinnick Stadium with a win, right? Right? Not so fast, my friend. Forget about it. Hawkeyes in upset. Indiana's coming off an emotional blowout win at home under their lights in their home stadium, and Iowa just took care of business on the road, out east, and they have an extra day of rest, extra day of preparation. Give me the Hawkeyes in an upset, 33-31. Ryan, let's see if you can top that.
Cole, I've always considered myself more of a realist than you. Iowa winning would be great, but when such things like the belt are on the line, I have to take my head out of the clouds. That's why these fellas are back. I'm 2-2 when I wear the flip-flops in predictions, and as I slip back into them, this prediction is a win-win scenario. If Iowa wins, we storm the field and have fun. If Indiana wins, I most likely win the belt. So yes, I do have the Hoosiers winning, but the last time I picked against Iowa, I also won. We can't play Rutgers and UMass every week. This is a real Big Ten contender that I think will sadly bring us back down to earth, but Elise, I feel like you have something up your sleeve today.
Iowa! You know what? Cole was right, Colin. Kinnick Stadium is where ranked teams come to die. I have the Hawkeyes in this one, upsetting these Indiana Hoosiers. Who do they think they are? And you think Kinnick Stadium is loud normally? Imagine a sold-out Kinnick Stadium on homecoming. And Gronowski, he was just getting started in Rutgers. He was just warming up. And the defense, don't get me started on the Iowa defense, baby. They are hot. Do not count out the Hawks.
What? I have so many questions. Where did the outfit come from? You were just dressed like me, and now you're the most hawked out person we've seen. What happened?
Go Hawks.
Go Hawks. It just naturally happens, I guess, in Iowa City. That's what we're learning from Elise Scan. But 1 second, sorry. Yes, I'm hearing a new report is coming in. I'm Colin Carruthers, I'm your weatherman today, and it looks like a storm warning is coming over Iowa City, specifically Kinnick Stadium. It sounds like fans will be storming Kinnick Field this upcoming Saturday. Ladies and gentlemen, I've got the Iowa Hawkeyes winning this game 16-14. This is the first time Iowa's hosted a ranked team in 3 years in Kinnick Stadium. They're going to be hungry for an upset. I have Iowa in this one, and I think it's going to be a low-scoring affair and a battle in the trenches. That's the only way I see Iowa winning this game. Well, at least we've got a whole lot going on up here. I've got the belt, which is obviously the best part of all of it, the weatherman portion, and then you got the whole thing going on right now.
Oh, yeah, you know it.
You went all out with your prediction.
All out.
Gotta respect it.
Yeah.
Gotta respect it.
Go
You're
Hawks.
confident in your pick this week, but not too confident to get this, I hope. I hope it stays right here, but I think that's all the time we have for now. So thank you, Ryan, Cole, Nick, our entire tech crew, and you for tuning in to Before the Kickoff.
Make sure to check out the Daily Iowans website and YouTube page for all the latest on Hawkeye sports and coverage of this weekend's game. From the University of Iowa, I'm Elise Gann.
And I'm Colin Carruthers. Have a marvelous weekend with the upcoming matchup between Indiana and Iowa.